I'm going to break down the Rocky movies and how this correlates to the zodiac sign of Cancer. So Sylvester Stallone, he's a brilliant writer. He himself is a Cancer, born on July 6th, 1946, and he really wrote and embodied the Cancer archetype in the character of Rocky and how he interacts with the world, his opponents, Adrian, and all the other people that played a vital role in these films. So we all know that Cancer represents home, family, domesticity, even close friendships. And Rocky is not really much a movie about boxing. It's more a movie about how a man is initiated into manhood through his interpersonal connections, and the people around him help develop him into the fighter that he did. So this is not really a sports movie. If you've seen Rocky or know Rocky, then this will give spoilers, but we're gonna just dive right into it. So point number 1, Rocky as the underdog. This movie juxtaposes how Rocky is always the underdog and from a lower social class than his opponents. Cancer, for those who don't know, represents the new money concept, while its opposite polarity, Capricorn, represents the old money concept. So rising to wealth and prestige, all of that falls under the zodiac sign of Cancer. So Apollo represents the Capricorn archetype because he's already got it made. He's already at the top of his status. He already is the GOAT in boxing and is already widely respected, has several belts to his name, while Rocky is coming from underneath him to take his position. 29 degrees in the sign of Cancer is said to be the millionaire's degree. So that, once again, going back to rising into fame, rising into prestige, rising into wealth, new money, that is all on Rocky, whereas Apollo is the wall that he must defeat. So if you look at the way in which they train, they show this disparity of wealth between the two. Rocky is inside of a meat factory punching raw meat in order to get his knuckles all bloodied up and strengthened, while Apollo gets to be in luxurious gyms. And not just Apollo, but all the other opponents always seem to have more resources to work with when training against Rocky, while Rocky is out in the streets training with nothing really, just going about the streets and eating raw eggs for breakfast and spending time with Paulie in order to get training done, who's not even a professional boxer. If we're gonna be honest, in real life, Rocky's opponents would have beaten him. They would have knocked him out, but Rocky doesn't really win because of his strength per se. He wins because of his tenacity, because he holds them down and keeps them in the ring for rounds and rounds. You know, it's not really Ares-like, and Ares will knock you out in one punch because that's Mars at play. But Rocky is actually, his strength is the fact that he does not give up. So this, once again, it's not a movie about boxing or sports. It's a movie about how you don't give up and how you maintain that tenacity, the tenacity of the crab. Rocky is the American boxer, and America is a Cancer, July 4th, in which America is celebrated. In Rocky number 4, when he goes to Russia to fight Ivan Drago, he then gets the Russian crowd to turn against Ivan, and they start rooting for Rocky when they see this tenacity and they see his claws on Ivan, unwilling to give up and hold him down until he defeats him. If you take a look at the cover of the 4th Rocky, it's an image of the American flag shrouded over him as he holds his head high in victory. So, how about we go back and assess one of the most interesting aspects of this film, which is what led me to this conclusion in the first place, and that is how Rocky interacts with Adrian. Cancer is the sign of the mother and motherly love and nourishment. Adrian plays more of a motherly figure to Rocky, more so than a wife. Notice how she always sits in the back of the stadium, biting her nails while Rocky fights like she's a worried mother, especially in the first one. Adrian, played by Talia Shire in real life, is a Taurus woman. Now, as an Earth sign, she's not really on the front lines cheering for Rocky and holding up a foam finger for him, telling him to go ahead and go do it. She's kind of off to the side once again, kind of just there. She's really worried about him getting hurt. She's not really encouraging the fact that he be a fighter. She's more supportive in the home area. She's more supportive of his emotional atmosphere. She's more supportive there. She's not really one to encourage him being a fighter. Even in the scene in the second one where it opens, where they're both at the hospital and Rocky mentions retiring, she smiles at that because she thinks he's telling the truth. We know he goes back to fight later, but she really doesn't like him actually there. In the fourth one, she says that famous line of "You can't win" against Ivan Drago when Rocky insists that he go fight him to get vengeance for what he's done to Apollo. So the way that Sylvester wrote Adrian is a very Cancerian archetype. She's, like I said, a motherly figure to him. They have a family together, and in the second Rocky, that's the first people he shouts out when he wins. He shouts out his son and Adrian and the people at home watching. Home, family, domesticity. There's a scene in one of the Rockies where, I think it's the second one, where he starts to become a little spendthrift when they're buying a house, and Adrian is looking at him like, "Don't you think you've spent enough, or we don't need this big house? The one we had was fine. We don't need to spend this much money." So she's not really displaying a lot of the typical athlete wife traits. She's kind of low-key. She doesn't care much for the lavish lifestyle that he could provide. When his trainer Mickey passed away, that became a catalyst for Rocky wanting to do a lot better in his fighting career, because Mickey was known to really slap Rocky around for being a lazy butt and telling him that, listen, you need to get your career going. You can't just be here as a lower class boxer. You need to go out there and you need to really have better management and all that stuff. And now let's analyze Rocky himself. Rocky is a very tender man. He's actually not as macho as you would think he would be as a boxer, and of course you see this in how he interacts with Adrian. But even without her being there, he still doesn't display, he is a masculine man, but he doesn't really display typical masculine traits, as it seems like his drive isn't initially there. It's like it had to be built up, and then when he gets to that point, he becomes unstoppable, and his tenacity is what gets him where he needs to go, what gets him to win his fights. The themes of family, closeness, home, nourishment, coming into money, being the American boxer, these are all things and themes that play into how Rocky Balboa represents the Cancer archetype.